All right, now it is an honor to welcome up Kusala. And he is somebody well known here over the years. He's been on our Interfaith Council. He originally was referred to as Reverend Kusala. He is now an ordained monk, and he has served on so many councils, literally it was 5 pages long. So I asked him, if there's anything special I could point out, and he humbly said no, that he's really involved throughout the greater Los Angeles area. He heals, he teaches, and he inspires, so welcome him.
Well, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be any place, actually. I'm going to talk about how to end suffering, / how to be happy, / finding peace. And all that within 20 minutes. Now, yesterday, I was in the backyard of our meditation center. I was sitting on a chair looking at the koi pond and just thinking about stuff. Thomas the cat jumped on my lap, wanted to be petted. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a hawk flies through the orange tree after a sparrow, hits the ground. Thomas the cat was off my lap and chasing that hawk in an instant. And that wonderful moment of peace and serenity by the koi pond was transformed into a feeding frenzy. And then I thought to myself, aren't we lucky to be humans at the top of the food chain? All we kill is each other. Now, you might find that uncomfortable, but last night on PBS, I watched, in preparation for my talk on peace, something about the Korean War and the first Marines. And they were mostly wiped out by the Chinese who were coming over the mountains. And they died in horrible, terrible ways. And I thought to myself, peace, what a radical concept that is. We're so prone to go towards war and away from peace. So I thought to myself, number one, how do we find happiness? How can we be so happy that we don't want to go to war, that we don't want to kill each other, that we want to hold each other, encourage each other? And in Buddhism, they're very specific about this. They say it all starts with the 5 precepts, the 5 training precepts, as a way of building happiness. First precept is not to take life. How hard is that? Especially if you have a nice house and a bunch of cockroaches. They're not supposed to be there. They have their own place to be. And the only way we can deal with them at first is to kill them. But maybe after a little practice, maybe after reflecting on the first precept of not taking life, there can be a workaround. Maybe we don't need to kill them. Maybe we can catch them, take them outside, let them be where they're supposed to be. See how humans think? And then everything will be fine until they come back in again. We'll have to do it one more time. Lions, tigers, and bears, we don't want to kill them either. Dorothy told us, no, don't kill them. And ultimately humans, we don't want to kill them either. Because being born as a human is a miracle. It is so hard. Look at all the creatures that live on Earth. And then look at humans. Now I know there's only 7 billion of us. And it doesn't seem so special when you look at the numbers. But it is a miracle. Somehow, our mom and dad found each other and liked each other enough to have us. They didn't know who we were going to be. They didn't know how we were going to turn out. But they thought, let's do this. Let's have a little guy or gal. How special is that? And we take it for granted that we're here. But how long was it before we were here? It was forever. And how long will it be after we go? It will be forever. These 60, 70, 80 years we're going to live are bookended by forever that we weren't here or won't be here. It is special. Human life, all life is special. Number 2, don't take stuff that's not yours. Don't steal things. You don't need it, number 1. Just something else to take care of, worry about, insure. We think we own stuff because we're consumers of America. We're given receipts for everything we buy, which transfers ownership to us. But do we really ever own anything? I ask you. When I look in the mirror this morning, I said to myself, if I owned me, I wouldn't look like this. But I don't own me, so I'm sort of stuck. Number 3, no sexual misconduct. This is hard, and I don't know why it should be so hard, but it is, because humans don't have a mating season. And we tend to go outside our circle to satisfy our sexual needs. It's not worth it. Believe me. I have a very small circle. I have no circle. I've been celibate for a long time. People feel sorry for me. I go, oh no, you should thank me. Number 4, speak skillfully. No harsh speech, malicious speech, gossip, false speech. Speak in a way that enhances life, not downgrades. And number 5, the hardest one of all. I don't know why people fail at this so miserably, but they do. Number 5, don't get high. Everybody loves to get high. We have some propositions on the ballot. You know, I'm thinking, okay, just another way to get high. What's wrong with getting high according to Buddhism? It steals all the wisdom you've ever acquired. You end up doing dumb things and increasing suffering rather than decreasing suffering. Stay sober. Clarity, kindness are invaluable. So that's how happiness starts. We discipline our life. I know discipline is a bad word, but we discipline our life. We have a focus. We're not going to increase suffering. We're going to decrease suffering. That's speech and action. 5 precepts. Now the Buddha said if you really want to be happy, you got to change the way you think. You got to change the way you experience the world. He said we have 3 poisons that pollute us. They are greed, hatred, and delusion. You need to transfer greed, transform it. You need to transform greed into generosity. I have 8 feral cats that I feed every day. They're my little furry friends. Cost me about $150 a month. But I couldn't think of a better way to spend $150 a month than to keep 8 feral cats alive. We have the koi pond and we have fish. I feed them too. Occasionally I feed myself. This practice of generosity has transformed the way I perceive the world, the way I experience the world. Now, I'm still prone to greed, I have to admit. I haven't got rid of it all yet. I find myself in Food for Less. They got the best cat food prices. I get a whole bunch of cat food and then I head to the bakery aisle. And there they are, Hostess cupcakes, individually wrapped, 8 in a box, under $3. Now, I'm not going to pass that. I get a couple boxes. So I go to the cashier, I got cat food and Hostess cupcakes. And she looks at me, are you single? I said, yeah. Now, I could give half those Hostess cupcakes away. I could do that, and that would be my practice of generosity. But so far, I haven't. I still have work to do, but I've started with the cats. Now, hatred. How easy is hatred? Happens all the time, every day. I'm on Facebook. I have a lot of Facebook friends. I'm sort of known as the postmaster. I'm not going to be the Zen master, but I'll settle for the postmaster. And I see so much hatred, especially with this election that's coming up. And everybody has sides and reasons why they're on that side. And I'm thinking, oh, I don't want to hear that. Because that's such a normal way to be. Can we transform our hatred into love and kindness? Now see, in Buddhism, we don't use the word love alone. It doesn't stand out there very well alone. Because sometimes it can deteriorate into control. But if you add kindness to your love, there's a wonderful balance. A wonderful balance. Love in the heart, kindness in the activity, and it changes the world in a very positive way. So can we get rid of this hatred, which is separation that doesn't really exist anyway? It's always the other. When I go to speak someplace, I'm generally the other. And I'm always surprised that they invited the other to speak. Because sometimes the other has different things to talk about. Different ways of looking at the world. Different ways they experience the world. Not better, not right, not worse, not wrong, but just different. And sometimes it's hard to accept different. Because we like everybody or everything to sort of think the way we do, and that way we think the world will be a much better place because we have this in common. But it's never going to happen. We're all individuals. Each one of us. Each one of our lives. This is the very first time that life has happened. Nobody has ever lived your life before. There is no manual to tell you how to live because it's always the first time. Wow. So rather than being bummed out that it's the first time, it's a miracle. Everything happens in your life always for the first time. It's never the same. How joyful is that? None of us know what's going to happen tomorrow because tomorrow is going to be the first time again. So you get up in the morning and you say to yourself, wow, this is the first time. I'm so excited. I wonder what's going to happen today. And it's never what you expect to happen, good or bad, but something always happens. Now we come to delusion. Man, this is a hard one, delusion. Because we're all sort of deluded. That's why we're humans and have this wonderful gift of self-interpretation. We interpret the world through our experience, our education, our peer groups. We interpret the world in a very unique way. But in Zen, they have a little saying. They say, the finger pointing at the moon is never the moon. So we never experience reality the way it really is. We experience reality because of the way we are. Okay. This is tough now. So if we experience the reality and we don't find peace, whose fault is that? Is that the reality's fault? Or is that the way we're interpreting the reality? Does peace start with us? Will the world ever be peaceful? Well, peace does start with us, and the world will never be peaceful. Because that hawk will always go after that sparrow, and that cat will always go after that hawk. That doesn't change. But how about if we experience it differently? How about if we see the true nature of that event? What would that do to us? How would we feel about that? So I'm going to talk a little bit about peace now and why happiness is not the final goal of Buddhism. It is one of the goals, but the problem with happiness is it always changes. It doesn't last very long. Sadness doesn't either, so we're thankful for that. We have happiness and we have sadness. And we have good and we have bad. we have joy, and we have sorrow. And those are dualistic. And those are created. Certain conditions are necessary for happiness to arise. Certain conditions are necessary for hate to arise. And if that's the case, how about if we change the conditions necessary for happiness or hate to exist? Anything that's created will be destroyed. If it has a beginning, it has an end. Anything. Even the Buddha, the wisest of them all, he died at 80. Bad food. Come on. The Buddha, bad food, he had to die? He did. Jesus, he died too. Muhammad, he died too. All these people died because they had a beginning. They were created. There was a start. If there's a start, there has to be a finish. So the Buddha said, if you want peace, don't create it. Because it will only be temporary. And we can look at the Middle East for that. They sign something, okay, we're going to have peace. Yeah, 5 years, 10 years later, no peace. Let's sign something again. Okay, we're going to have peace. How many wars have we been involved in as Americans? Why do we go to war? To create peace. Come on. Who's thinking that way? Well, somebody is, because we keep doing it. So in order to have true and lasting peace, it can't be created. So what does that mean? That means it has to be realized. It's already there. It's already in place. But we have too much greed, hatred, delusion to perceive the peace that's already there. So we miss it all the time. And the Buddha said, what you need to do is you need to go inside and find your peace and realize your peace and then bring that peace into the world. But it's not going to change the world. It will give you a sense of peace when you do your peacemaking work. You will be able to go into situations and environments that would repel the average person. But you are bringing your inner peace, clarity, and kindness with you. And you are making a difference whether you know it or not. You don't have to say anything or really do anything or really think. You just have to be there. For 20 years, I worked in community service. Volunteer at state prison, volunteer at juvenile hall, volunteer at UCLA, volunteer at Garden Grove Police Department. 20 years. Did I make a difference? Not a one. But what I did do is I showed up. And whatever happened, because of me or otherwise, might have made a difference to some, but I was never made aware of it. I didn't know it. I would just go there, do my stuff, and get a cup of coffee. And then I'd go back again the next week. And I continued year after year after year. And people say, well, why did you stop? Why did you stop doing that? Well, I was never sure how long I was supposed to volunteer. 5 years, isn't that long enough? I don't know. 10 years, is that long enough? 15 years, is that long enough? The older I got, the less time I had to volunteer. I thought to myself, maybe now I'll work on myself. But for the last 2 years, I've been at Leisure World, Seal Beach. 7,500 old people. I wasn't sure whether I'd enjoy old people or not. But then I looked at them and they looked just like me. I thought, I'm home. We got like a lot of stuff to talk about. Rolling Stones, Beatles. We were all there. We know. And you know what topic we talked about most? Life and death. That's what happens when you start to get old. Certain things become important that weren't necessarily important before. How did you live your life? Well, you already did live your life, most of it. How do you look back on that? Did you do the best you could? I bet you in most cases you did. Was it ever good enough? Of course not. Because you're human. What are you going to do with the future life? Well, you know, as you get old, I am coming to understand there are just more and more boundaries. You know, pretty soon you go from single vision to bifocal to trifocal. You know, it's just the nature of humanity. Then you can't hear so good, so you get like a little hearing aid. Then the hair goes. I'm in the right line of work, it doesn't matter. And then one day when you're old, you wake up and you say, you know what? Today is the best day I'm ever going to have. It's all downhill after today. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to use it to the best of my ability this day. This is the best day of my life. And then you wake up the next day and you go, you know what? This is going to be the best day of my life. I can still walk and talk and think and smile, practice kindness and generosity. Yeah, today's going to be a good day. I'm so happy I got one more day. And then you wake up again. Whoa, today's the day. It's such a great day. It's really nice to get old. When you're young, you look at the day as a challenge. How am I going to succeed today? How am I going to get what I want today? And as you get older, you have fewer wants, fewer necessities. When my grandfather died at 84, he had one table and one lamp. You know, and I'm thinking, that's how I want to go. One table and one lamp. Nobody's going to fight over that. So we come to our description of peace. What really is peace? Can we talk about it? Can we think about it? Some people think peace is happiness that is flatlined. But that's not peace. That's just happiness that's flatlined. Peace. Two aspects. Number one, peace, acceptance. You start to accept things the way they are. You start to see the perfection in every moment. You don't need it to be any different than it is. Wow. Can you accept life that way? We haven't been taught to accept life. We've been taught to fight it, to get what we want, to make a mark for ourselves, to have the most toys. Can you just accept it for the way it is? And if you can, the second aspect of peace is perfect balance. You're not a Republican, you're not a Democrat, you're not an independent. You're just a human being, living as much as you can until you die. We all know, each one of us, how the story ends. It has been proven over and over again, no matter how good, smart, or wealthy you are, we all end up in the same 6-foot box. Okay. So what's the point? The point is anything you want it to be. What do you want the point to be? How do you want your life to be? You're in charge. If you have acceptance and equanimity, it's your choice. And some people choose just to have it the way it is. And that's peace. That's acceptance. Yes, I think I've said all I need to say about peace and happiness. I hope some of it resonated with you. Hope you found it to be interesting and educational. And now to end my presentation, I brought my harmonica. Now I know some people think that, well, you know, why would a monk play the harmonica? And what would a monk play? Well, monks play the blues. What else would they play? It never gets better. We know how the story ends. So along the way, we have some peaks and valleys. So let's hear a little blues in the key of G.